Howdy, folks. I am making an intro for this episode because when I started recording, I didn't have some of the settings correct. So, about the first 25 minutes of this episode is recorded, but I couldn't get it edited properly. So, if I do get it done properly later, I will put it out. So, I am making a intro for Hannah Ohman. She is a florist, and we had a very fun conversation learning about how she uses flowers that are only grown in season in Montana. And there's a lot of cool stuff in the beginning, just talking about how she got into it. So it's going to bump in about 20 minutes in, and be sure to check out her website, which will be in the description, and her Instagram, and enjoy. Thanks.
Did you have a say in that?
Yes, I had it I'll be like fully transparent. I had as much of a say as I wanted to have in a lot of things, but there were so many things. My thought is, how can I support you? What do you need? And then, if there's hard no's from me, I'd let them know, but it was pretty minimal.
Yeah.
I'm wearing blue jeans.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
very casual, which is good.
Yeah. And a nice button down and a jacket. But it's very cool to be able to be myself and kind of.
Are you going to wear a hat?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Wait, cowboy hat though?
No, ball caps.
Ball cap?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was very back and forth on this, a little indifferent, but we got custom ball caps with the antler from the Mountain Mule logo.
Cool.
And I thought of it as more of a baseball team. I played baseball growing up and still do. So, but it'll be, I grew up on a farm, so it's very cool to be able to honor some of my culture, but it will look classy. It's not.
Yeah. Come on, guys. A baseball cap can be classy, right? Absolutely.
I think so.
It's funny though, because I feel like there are times where I'll assist with, obviously I assist with planning a lot of weddings. And so there will be times where the groom absolutely does not care. And which is very often, it's very sweet, not caring, like, do what you want, babe. I love you. But then there are the other times where the groom is like, I have this flower that I really want, or like he has a lot of opinions. And sometimes it makes it easier because you can kind of determine the wedding a little bit more and make it more focused on maybe what his preferences are. So I feel like it can go both ways, and it goes really beautifully if you actually really just lean into your own personalities. I think that that's one of the things about wedding planning is people will get really obsessed with like, oh, we want it to look a certain way. We wanted to make the cover of Rocky Mountain Bride, or we want to make, we want it to be submitted and accepted to some publication. And I think you get a little bit lost in the weeds when you focus on just the appearance of your wedding. Yeah. Like if it's not about you guys, why are you having a wedding,
Yeah,
it's like guest experience is super important. How you want your wedding to feel is super important. But if you guys aren't like black tie people, don't wear a black tie, And I think, which I love black tie weddings. I'm not saying anything against that, but there is a lot to say for just pursuing a wedding that feels like you guys. And so I'm really excited to hear that you're doing that.
We are too. And don't get me wrong, at some points we're we should have just eloped.
Oh, seriously?
But I just said this to my fiance and she completely agreed. It would be such a bummer to spend this money and plan this day and then go put myself in a situation where I feel very uncomfortable and I don't feel like myself. And don't get me wrong, I will look sharp and it'll be cool that everyone does, and she's going to look like a princess.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be like, man, I can't wait to get these clothes off. That would
not
be fun.
That'll be so much better that way. I'm really glad you're doing it that way. Yeah. The majority of the people that I know that work in the event industry, the majority of the people that I know that work in the event industry that got engaged and then got married, they have eloped because they know that it takes so much work. And a lot of times the thing that you want to focus on is each other, and you can't really do that as well. And then they'll have a party afterwards. But I think it's each individual couple has so many decisions to make on stuff like that there isn't a right way to do a wedding, except that you need to make it feel like something that feels like you.
Yeah.
It's still working.
And I could talk about weddings all day, but I still want to ask you about the seasonality.
Yeah.
And you were saying that there is a kind of a glorification of hustling.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I ask you about the financial part of that?
Totally.
How have you been able to balance that?
Yes.
and I like just thinking as a business owner, and I think a lot of people think this, myself included, is how can we sustain this year round? How can we keep cash flow going year
Totally.
round? And I've also heard people say is, have a seasonal business that you run 12 months out of the year, which depending on,
Yep.
it's a year round business that your deliverables are in a window.
Totally.
How have you managed that
Yeah.
financially and what's your approach?
Yeah. I feel like I have a little bit of a cheat code on this one because I have an extremely wonderful husband who also works a full-time job. And his job covers all of our basic needs. So it's a little bit like all of my income is cherry on top investable type income, which is awesome. The event industry is very I would say it's lucrative. It is a big job, and a lot of times it's a lot of stress and anxiety. And so I do feel like there is the compensation that I receive. I feel like is reasonable for the stress that I undergo, the amount of work that I do, the hours that I put in, and also the finesse that I have in design and the experience that I have. But for us, I work this job as a fairly part-time mom gig, and it's awesome. But I do also work it part-time throughout the year.
Yeah.
And so with that, it's for the amount of hours that I work, I feel like it works for our family. But that's a great question. It's not super feasible answer for most people because a lot of times in Bozeman specifically, it's pretty hard to have a full-time job that covers all your needs. You usually need 2 adults working, which is a bummer. And I think that you can make, like I said about weddings, you can make your life look how you want based on what you want to do. And I think that it takes a lot of grit to get there. But I think the fun part for me is that I don't have to do this job. I get to do this job. And so that actually makes it more of I enjoy it more for that reason. But
I was really hoping when you said I have a cheat code, I thought you were going to say you have a trust fund.
Oh, man. No, I wish I had a trust fund.
Yeah. Want to know something funny? Because I was telling you about my checklist before.
Yes, your checklist. Oh, you forgot to turn on your light.
Hang on. So I'm just going to leave this rolling and turn them on.
That's really funny. Half your checklist is done.
It's not on there because the lights are newer.
Oh. Now, how are you going to edit this?
It's not. This is going to be the editing. This is as raw as it gets.
I love that. Cool, warm, natural. Which light do you?
Okay, that looks better. But it'll look fine because the blinds are open. There was natural lighting, but now we've got some artificial and
hopefully
natural.
My bangs aren't just like completely covering my entire face. I don't even know what's happening.
You look terrific.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so that's I can see how that answer is very unhelpful for some people.
Yeah.
But as someone who works in a very seasonal industry, and I don't know what the percentage is, but so much of the income and the jobs in Gallatin County and Southwest Montana are so seasonal.
So seasonal. Yeah.
So I think there would be something so beautiful if we could, as people, honor that and, totally. Know when to rest, know when to work more.
Yeah.
I've probably said this so many times to people who listen a lot, but there's a financial book called Profit First.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been invaluable for my finances because it makes me do everything on a 12-month.
Yes.
So everything for me is based on income in 12 years, not in 1 month, because it's disproportional some months to others.
My poor, when I've showed my accountant my books at certain times, she's like, wait, you didn't make any money for several months? And I'm like, I booked weddings, but it doesn't mean I earned that money. I have to wait to use it, and because I have to pay for flowers out of that initial deposit. But that's in 6 months from now or a year from now.
That takes discipline.
And my poor accountant is like, they're amazing and they're used to it now. But at first it was sort of like, you don't work 12 months out of it. You don't work 8 hours a day. You don't have this consistent hourly income. So it is definitely a challenge because you do mentally have to divide it out over months, 12 months. Every time I do my books at the end of the season, I have to make sure that I have money in my bank account that will cover all of my costs for off season. I can't just pay myself all of it. I have to make sure of that. And so it's like dividing it out by 12 months and what are my operating costs even when I'm not working full time or working through the summer.
I wonder if you could, that'd be cool if you could just like put it directly into a CD and make some money on it.
Totally.
And then,
slowly use it.
or take it out in the 6 months when you need it. And
Totally.
I don't know.
It would be interesting. I haven't actually thought of that.
Yeah.
My husband would be like, let's put it into some Bitcoin and then you can get it back out.
Well, I think the CD is like much lower risk, but
Totally.
there's a certain term. Like you can do it in 6 months, and if you don't touch it, you'll get X amount of interest.
Totally.
Anyway, just
a thought process.
Yeah,
something to think through.
Just brainstorming it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so you're essentially 4 or 5 months. Your husband's working year round.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go back to the homeschooling.
Yes.
As someone who was homeschooled, and
Yeah.
Amanda was homeschooled.
Yes, she was.
Does your guys have friendship have any connection with that, or is that random?
No, it's random that we both are homeschooled. It's funny though, because a lot of our friends are also homeschooled.
Yeah.
I think maybe it could be that weirdos unite, but I think it's more like we all think similarly in that we don't think within like the typical structure. And so a lot of our friends are self-employed, do like house hacking or we call it house hacking. I don't know if everybody else calls it that, but house hacking. And a lot of them will do like just be really interested in multiple topics or multiple ideas and have interesting hobbies also. So I think similar brains probably attract. Might not be weirdos, but similar brains.
Weirdos Unite sounds like a cult I'm already interested in.
I know, same. I probably fit that. Yeah. Kind of nerdy in certain interests and always creative, always things that you're trying. And always brainstorming, I feel like is a pretty typical homeschool thing to do too.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up, well, all over the place. I'm originally from Washington State, but I've lived in Montana for 22 years now. I actually don't remember what year we moved to Montana, but.
So was the majority of your homeschooling here?
No, most of it was in Bellingham. And then my family moved to LA for 3 years while my dad went to school. So 3 years there. And then the last 3 years were in Billings.
Okay.
Yeah. So where were you homeschooled?
Upstate New York.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Are you from near the Adirondacks?
A little way south of there, but not
okay.
From certain parts of our farm, you could see them if it was a clear enough day.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've backpacked the Adirondacks, and my husband went to a camp in upstate New York for a while.
Oh, cool.
He went to Deerfoot. Do you know what Deerfoot is?
It sounds familiar, but
yeah, it's a all boys camp in upstate New York.
Yeah, I didn't get off the farm that much.
Hey, you're off the farm now.
Here I
nice
am.
work.
I ask this question a lot because I think about it from my own experience and other people's. How was the social aspect for you? Before we keep rolling with today's episodes, I want to tell you about someone who changed how we show up as a business. When clients land on our website, we hear the same thing over and over. It just feels right. Amy of Unbridled Form asked us questions we'd never thought to ask ourselves, helped us figure out the deeper identity underneath our services, and translated that into a brand world we're genuinely proud of. Our ongoing partnership is easily one of the best investments we've made. Learn more at unbridledform.com. Now back to the show.
Totally. That's a great question. We had a lot of, my family was super part of church culture. And so we had a lot of friends in church. Once we moved away though, I feel like it got a lot harder because each time we moved, we had to make a new set of friends. And in Billings was definitely the hardest. But I feel like my mom did a great job putting us in like soccer. And it wasn't great soccer. In California, everyone plays soccer and football and everybody plays and they play really well and that was really fun. But then we moved to Billings and we had to be part of like like city league and not to rag on city league. It's great, but also the players just were not that interested. It was a lot of the kids that didn't make a team at its school. And so it was like their parents wanted them to play soccer still to stay good at it so they could try again next year or whatever. So I remember it being more of like, this is a social engagement. It's more than actually playing soccer super hard. But that was, my mom did a great job with that. She also did a good job like putting us into did you ever do co-op?
No.
It's total, everywhere we went, there were co-ops, which is like a group of moms that comes together to like bring their kids together and do maybe electives sometimes, or sometimes it's a language. One of the moms is a really fluent Spanish speaker, or sometimes it was history. And in Billings, it was almost everything. You kind of all did the same curriculum. But I had friends through that, which was really cool. So my mom was really intentional about like bringing the social aspect in for us. What did you have on your farm?
Well, we all played sports.
Yeah, totally.
My
Baseball, you said.
Yeah, my siblings ended up going to public high school
Oh,
essentially,
yeah. Okay.
and we all had that option
Yeah.
to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Uh, to an extent. I think my mother was like probably a little bit burnt out, but also we had that option. I opted out because I was so involved with the farm at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we always had the sports that we played, so we had plenty of friend groups. But it was a big limitation for myself. But I
Yeah.
was just for whatever reason I had more of a disposition towards being quiet, being more introverted. So it was kind of a bad combo in the sense that it was out of my comfort zone, so I just could avoid it.
Yeah.
Um, I had since put myself as an adult in situations where I need to be more social.
Hey, look at you. Look
Case
at you in
in
your
point.
podcast.
But I mean, I think while I'm talking to you, when I was talking to Amanda, you both are very well spoken, articulate, and
Thank you.
yeah, seem for that to not be a limitation. And I've had friends that are parents ask me that about my experience, and that's what I tell them from my experience.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the highly important parts of it. There's many, but that can be such a limitation if you know.
Can. If you're not intentional, like my mom was. And yeah, my one of the things that we're doing this year is there's a really cool co-op that focuses on Charlotte Mason specifically, which was the philosopher I was talking about earlier. But they do a lot of she focused on specifically classic books, and living stories is the other thing she talks a lot about. I probably can't explain that very well, but and then being outside. And so those are the three things that we really wanted to focus on also. And so there's a co-op that we are joining this year for the first time, and I'm really excited. Our son was born during COVID, and so he had a pretty limited social experience for almost 2 years. We were like hanging out with friends and stuff, but it was a fairly limited pool, and a lot of people in Bozeman went back to work, but weren't necessarily hanging out with people they didn't know. So our community got a lot smaller because we were trying to develop community at that point. And so he was pretty shy for a while, and now he's much more outgoing and really, really loves being around kids. And so it's the first year that we feel like, okay, we can put him in a classroom that he will feel safe enough to like experiment with becoming friends with people. And so we've done a lot of that with our cousins. Also, my in-laws, there are 5 kids in my husband's family, and they all had kids at the same time. And so I think we're up to, I should probably double check this, but I think we're up to 12 kids under the age of 6 right now.
Wow.
And so when we all get together, it's this crash course in being social with all of them. And we're spread all over the country. But when we all get together under one roof. And so it's a week of the kids playing full time. And so I feel like that also has made it possible for him to look at going to a co-op and actually thriving in that environment. So I'm really looking forward to that, seeing how he does, because I think the social part can be really challenging with homeschooling, but we also are pretty intentional people about developing our own friendships and creating community within. Like Amanda is part of our community, obviously. So she's like one of the people that we bring in regularly. Our kids call her Amanda Roo, actually. And so she's like an auntie. She comes over and she's part of our crew. And then we have lots of friends with little kids. And so we try to get together with them frequently. And so I think with homeschooling, I think one of the things that I've come to realize as an adult, I've also recently read Hunt, Gather, Parent, which is a book about kind of less is more. A lot of times, minimal interference, less overwhelmed with toys and with consumerism. But then also just generally like fewer really quality friends are often more not useful, that's the wrong word, more effective in terms of creating like good social skills than a giant classroom full of kids. And for us, that was the case for me. And my husband went to public school high school. My husband went to public school in high school. He had a series of private schools that he went to before that. And so he kind of and his sister was homeschooled for a little while. And so their family tried all of the things. And for the most part, he's on board with homeschooling in terms of like, this is definitely what we want to try for the moment and just see, but we're open to other possibilities. But I think that's one of the things that we're fine with is that you don't have to have a giant classroom of the kids the same age as you to have a really great social experience. And in fact, I think it's probably easier to have a really great social experience, especially if you have kids of different ages, some that are teaching you and some that you are being participating in teaching and taking care of. Like, my son has to take care of his younger sister who's 2 on a regular basis, where he's like helping her down the stairs or making sure she's not falling off the ladder in the bunk bed. Like, these are really cool parts of having kids of multiple ages. And so I'm looking forward to that with doing the co-op that we're participating in next year.
Yeah, I know Jessica was speaking to that with the Montessori Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot to that with the different ages and how it
Yeah.
kind of creates different roles, and
Yes.
older kids want to help younger kids in their learning. And
It's
just
really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool. I do really like the Montessori style also. I think the thing that I'm excited about, Hunt Gather Parent, I'm not going to keep talking about this book, but I just read it, so it's really top of mind. But that's one of the things that they talk a lot about, is that you think that your kids need specific types of toys to be educated, and actually they want to be learning from you.
Mhm.
So like, bring them to your workplace and bring them in, let them participate, remove more of the toy situation so that they can participate in like real life. And so we actually just bought our kids real kid-friendly knives so they can start helping in our kitchen and like participating that way. And so I think even just like giving your child, the gal in the Hunt Gather Parent book calls it their team membership card. Like, you're part of this family and it's really cool. And when we give you these really cool jobs, you get to do them, and it's like a type of reward. So that's one of the things I've been thinking a lot about also, is like, if you can create a really beautiful family dynamic also where they're on your team, I think that it also creates a lot more of the space to learn to have really good relationships.
Yeah, when you say your team, I really like that. My fiance said that to me, and I thought it is a very cool concept that she'd said to me, because we're talking about taking names, and she's going to take my last name, and she's like, "Yeah, that's our team name."
Yes,
And I'm
totally.
like, that is so cool.
It is cool. Yeah,
like, and that puts a different, a different weight and responsibility on me in a good way.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm like, this is cool. This is a big deal.
Yeah,
and it's
we're co-captains in this, and it's really cool to be on the same team. And like, if you guys decide to have kids, like giving your kids that team membership card, like, yeah, we're just in the dugout cheering you on. Yeah. Like, that you are experiencing life, and we want you to experience life, and we're here to help when you're ready and when you need it. And sometimes they don't think they need it, and you still are just supporting. And so I think it's been a really cool part of, I'd say, of parenting, is learning to let your kids have these experiences where your fingers aren't all in it, and you're not controlling the situation, and they're learning in that way. So I think that's been a really fun part of like handing them the tools that feel dangerous, in terms of like, okay, I feel really stressed when my husband lets my son use a real knife. And so I'm like, okay, how do I take the stress out of that, but still let him help in a real way? And so I bought these great knives off of Amazon. So I think that'll be a cool part of like letting our kids participate and be a part of the team.
Yeah, we are planning on having kids, and I'm excited.
It's cool. It's really hard. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm. That's the impression I'm getting.
The anticipation is real. Yeah.
I'm an armchair parent right now.
Oh yeah, totally.
I just let everyone know exactly how they should do it.
This is how you should do it. Yeah. No, oh man.
I really bite my tongue, because I'm like, I'm gonna eat all these words later, so I'm gonna shut my mouth.
You know what? I would be really good at putting kids to sleep. And I can sit back and watch you struggle. It'll be totally fine for me. I do remember thinking some of those things beforehand. I tried to be really humble going into parenting, knowing that I would fail and knowing that it would be really hard in some ways. And there are days that I've never been broken down to like my very core in any relationship or situation, like being married or like having kids, because you get really deep really fast, and it's really good, but also just it's a long-term commitment in every sense of the word. So
I mean, I've heard in the way I understand, and I'm only using my experience being in a relationship up to engaged, but
yeah,
you can use your experience being married and your experience being a parent as tools for a rapid growth and personal development
Absolutely.
if you want it to be.
If you want it to be.
Or,
if you're willing
Yeah.
to let it shape your life and how you participate with the world. Yes, absolutely. If you're kind of stuck in the mud, it's going to hurt a lot more.
Yeah.
It really, like, it won't go as well if you're not willing to make the, because as soon as it's like your kids put this magnifying glass. Like, I didn't think I was an angry person before I had kids. Really, I didn't. And my dad, I come from a really wonderful family. My parents are still together, and which is incredible. But my dad, when I was a kid, he's since asked forgiveness for this, but he was a pretty angry person. He was going through a lot. I understand, like, they're a really big deal, but he asked forgiveness for that fairly recently. But then suddenly I'm like, you were an angry person, and I thought that was totally normal. And so then I react in anger instead of responding, which I feel like the difference is just that you actually take the time to think about it, and then you can respond instead of just immediately reacting. But I didn't think I was an angry person until I had kids. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I'm like, oh, wow, actually, underneath all of that, there's an angry person inside of this person. And I didn't know that before. I thought I was pretty great. I thought I was pretty kind. I thought I was a really, really awesome person. All that in a bag of chips, you know?
I'll speak to this because this has been, like, I've experienced this firsthand plenty in my life more recently, and I'm kind of excited about this because anger was modeled a lot to me when I was young.
Totally.
And as a young adolescent male, it was such an acceptable emotion.
Totally normal.
You could be angry, you couldn't really be sad or too happy.
Yeah.
But I've more since realized and heard these different concepts of essentially it's perfectly normal to feel angry.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be angry at someone.
Yes.
You can just get your anger out of your system.
And work it through.
I have a martial arts background.
Perfect.
So even I've done this more specifically, like more in the last couple of months, is there's heavy bag classes almost every day. And you can just go to a heavy bag class, just beat the shit out of a heavy bag. Everything that's angry, like that's what I take it out on. And then, like, I feel amazing after.
Yeah.
I want to give everyone a hug after. Like,
you're like, I'm so expressive after this, and it's not angry.
I just feel happy, and I'm like, man, I want to just give everyone a hug and tell everyone I love them. But I'm like, man, there's healthy ways to feel anger.
Yes,
and it doesn't need to be flipping out on someone. The way I was understood by me is you'll find that one person and let them know.
Yes,
that everything is their fault and you're angry.
Yeah, and it's a bummer because it's not their fault. Typically, it's like so much within yourself. Yeah, no, anger is one of those things that, like, you can channel it into something really good. Typically, I feel like you have, for me, I'm going to speak to how I have struggled with anger, is I have this tendency to go straight into blame and shame someone else, which is kind of what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But suddenly I'm like, I am not okay. And so there needs to be someone to blame this on. And that's a really nefarious part of parenting, is because suddenly I have these three really easy targets, and I have to take so many steps back and really work at that. I have to really work at that. And having that modeled to me as, like, this is an okay response as a parent is hard to extract that from my immediate impulse. So definitely that's what I'm focusing on right now, is in my parenting specifically. It's I'll let you know how it goes in like 6 months.
Okay, yeah. Send me an email with an update.
Hey, my anger is great. Yeah. I have dealt with it. No, that would be extremely impressive if I had dealt with it in 6 months. But I do really, that's one of the things that I think with parenting, I can see that being probably the most destructive part of parenting, is like allowing yourself to feed your own anger instead of like stepping back and taking a minute or taking a breather. And I have a really feisty second child, and it seems like she's pushing my buttons, but she's really just acting like a kid, and I am the adult. So should I also be acting like a kid? Probably not. So it's good for me. And I think one of the things that I've loved with doing flowers specifically is that I think a lot of moms, and even moms in my circle that I really love, that are really, really great parents, they kind of lose themselves after they become a mom, because a lot of times a lot of times you're the main caretaker, whether or not, like, obviously there's assistance from other parent. But a lot of times you're the main caregiver, and a lot of times you lose yourself in that and you forget who you are, especially if you're a stay-at-home or like a part-time working mom. You kind of forget who you are and what you love to do. And my mom, after she was an empty nester, she like went back to work, but she wasn't positive what she wanted to do for quite a long time. And she's discovered what she loves to do, but it took her a while because she'd been mom and homeschool mom all her life, pretty much since she was 24, I think is when my brother was born. Maybe it was even younger. But she's been that for so long that she was like, I don't actually remember a lot of the things that I love to do. And now she's found it, which is really cool. But one of the things about flowers is that I get to hang on to my creativity and hang on to my own individual personhood and show up for myself and show up for other people, and then be appreciated for that, honestly, because kids don't actually, you have to model a lot of appreciation for a kid to learn to appreciate you.
Yeah.
And being appreciated by people, this design is amazing, or the flowers are incredible, or like all of that stuff, because I'm a very much a words of affirmation person. That's been a really essential part of being a mom in some ways, is like holding on to my identity through flowers.
Yeah, and I think that's so valuable to model to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's something that's so easier said than done.
Yeah.
And like I said, because I'm an armchair parent, but when you can honor who you are and make sure you hold that in importance, I think that those are the things that you model to your kids, that you don't just let yourself go. That's a fine line. That's not easy to balance, but it's
not
easy to get obsessive and focus on your work and not, forget about your family, or worry about your family at the detriment to your own health. And, and I think to the seasons, there's different seasons of that, but that's
totally
very cool that you're able to do that.
Trying to find some balance.
Yeah.
It's good for me. And I think that it's part-time is really important for me, because I don't want to be completely away from my kids. That's something I love, being around my kids most of the time. I love that part of being a parent, is you get to be there for all of the firsts, and you get to be there for all of the difficult things. And I love that. But I love that my job is part-time, because I still have to show up for myself and for the community, and specifically for the farmers, and also for all of my event industry, all of my coworkers. I'm going to call them coworkers, my colleagues. I still have to show up 100% at my job, and I can't be like mentally checked out in either place.
Yeah.
Which is really good. It's good for me.
When you were talking about the toy knives, I think Jessica was saying something like this too, that maybe it's kids up to 7 or 8, when you give them responsibilities, to them it's something they get to do, not something they have to do.
Exactly.
So I think what she was saying, and I'm paraphrasing this, but they're genuinely excited to help, and they look, I get to help cook breakfast, I get to do all this stuff, and that's such a cool concept too. It's
super cool. So I have that thing where I want everything to be really efficient. Partially because I have a job that I also have to do alongside parenting, and so I want things to be efficient. And so for a long time, I noticed that my son really wanted a job, and so I would give him a job. And sometimes it was a real job, and sometimes it was a fake job. And that's one of the things that this Hunt Gather Parent book, said I would stop talking about it, but she talks a lot about how if you give a toddler or a young child a job that's real and that like does devote time and energy into the team, you get this beautiful toddler's ink, is what she calls it. Toddler's ink to the rescue, basically, because my 2-year-old, she's absolutely obsessed with helping, and she'll ask to help. She'll say it, and sometimes, and I turn her down on a regular basis, and I've stopped turning her down because it's easier for me to just throw all the magnet tiles in a box, or it's easier for me to sweep. Having her sweep, it takes a long time. She doesn't really do a great job, and so I'm just going to do it. I'll be faster. But rewarding your child with more responsibility is actually a really big part of what she talks about. And saying yes as often as possible. And even if it's not perfectly clean, it's an investment in your family and them being able to participate in a really healthy, helpful way, instead of it just being like a fake job. Here, you just do that. So that's why the water tube thing, when I had them doing the water tubes, I was like, this is a real job. I do not I don't really want to do it. And it's such a great little job for these little people. And so my 6-year-old did it. And then my 4-year-old was so excited to help when she got up from her rest time. And so it's like, I was rewarding them with this a job that they felt really trusted in because they could do it. And it was well within their capacity to be able to do that.
As soon as my kids are ready, we're going to have some real technology limitations unless they want to edit podcasts. Then
perfect. There you go.
That's going to be their exact job.
Exactly. Yeah. I know. We try to keep our kids off of all technology as much as possible. We don't have a TV in our house because we don't want it because we're really distracted by it. But then also our kids, we occasionally use Bluey or whatever to we call it our Bluey babysitter every now and again. We want to have a really deep conversation and don't want to be interrupted. And so we'll put Bluey on our laptop, and that's more or less the technology that they get. But we just started, my brother actually, for my son's birthday, gave him a computer that's basically completely wiped up everything. Don't ask me how he did it. My brother is extremely tech savvy. And so there's really basic coding on this. And so I'm like, okay, technology is a tool, not a toy. And so we view it that way. And it's been for us, it's been really helpful. But, editing a podcast, tool. Absolutely.
It's a weird balance. I don't know how anyone would get it right because we're so immersed in it that it's
and it's so addictive.
Yeah.
So addictive.
Yeah, I would almost venture to say it's a necessity if you want to exist in this society.
Totally.
So how do you
make baby steps into that?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I've thought a lot about actually recently is social media specifically. I don't really want to participate in social media, but it's an absolute necessity. It's a visual necessity for my clients to see my portfolio. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I was talking about with my husband is I only have 1,700 followers on Instagram. I'm like, that's not that many. Do I even need to bother posting? They're not going to see it. Nobody cares. That kind of feeling, nobody cares. But it is a necessary part of running a business. It is your visual portfolio. And I have a very visual business. I have to have social media. So I've been in this process of I don't really want to participate because I'm extremely addicted to that. If I go on there, I will find myself scrolling through reels, and I don't want to participate that way. I don't want to just consume. And so there's this inside of me, there's this dilemma, do I just delete my social media? Mm-hmm. Do I hang on to it? And I think to your point, we kind of need it. We kind of need social media. And so trying to figure out how to balance that, I've literally not worked that one out. But I think that it's been good for me to really do some processing around it. And so I haven't posted on my social media in quite a while. And for a while there, I was trying to post almost every day. And I didn't feel like it fed me or my soul in any way. And so I don't know. If you have any wisdom on that, I'd be interested. But also, I think there's it's a dilemma. It's a dilemma that we are all dealing with. And even whether or not to use AI, it's a really helpful tool. But also, did I think through this whole article myself? Did I write this whole article? Did I put in the work? And so trying to figure out how to use it in a useful way, but then also in in a way that still teaches you a skill or continues to hone your own abilities. So I don't know how to do that yet. I don't use it. That's pretty much where I'm at the moment. I use it. I had to edit an article fairly recently and I didn't like its editing. I think I used ChatGPT and I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to write my own article.
I'll tell you what I do. And I'll tell you my philosophy.
Yeah.
For what, so I don't have any social media on my phone.
Yes, I don't either. That's why I brought 2 phones.
Yeah, so I have this essential burner phone.
Yes.
That I can. It works on Wi-Fi. It doesn't have.
Totally. Yep.
So I'll use that to upload stuff, and I would do it with the browser, but a lot of it's not really browser friendly.
Well, and Instagram doesn't allow you to post on a computer. I would
or schedule anything. You can, anyway. So but I'll get on YouTube sometimes, and I get lost in that rabbit hole. I think it's if you're going to exist in a society that has something and you completely isolate yourself, I think you're going to feel lonely and left out.
Totally.
But those are really tough boundaries to keep.
They're really, really hard. So, I have a 15-minute timer that rotates on my Facebook because I have Facebook for Marketplace more than anything else because I'm a Marketplace junkie. I also love to decorate my house. But the 15-minute timer will go off and there's an ignore button.
Yeah.
And you know how many times I ignore it?
Yeah.
It happens every time. At least one time I ignore it. And so I think and it's only a 15-minute timer. So I'm like, oh, I can do 30 minutes. That's fine. But that's like me arguing with the boundary that I set, which is not useful. But yeah, I also have a burner phone. I have my old iPhone is, it's my Instagram phone. That's what I call it. And I just leave it uncharged in a drawer most of the time. Yeah. And then I can't access it very easily. But then I also can't post. I can't create reels because I also have I tend to edit on that phone because then I can post it immediately. I don't have to do the airdrop, or I don't have to send it over to my computer or from my computer to my phone. And it just feels like a huge waste of time because then I go down the rabbit hole of how many people liked my post and am I popular or am I not? Like that the affirmation part of all of that is really difficult and addictive, obviously, but
it's a pain in the ass.
Absolutely.
Because to do anything on social media, I'll then need to airdrop it from my computer, from this phone. And I'm like, I just say to myself, this is the price I will pay to maintain this boundary. Totally. So it's either just don't do it at all. Yeah. But it's, I don't know, it's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes.
Totally. Yeah. That's where I'm at with it too. I think at some point I'll either just hand it off to someone else. Yeah. If I take enough weddings in a year and I feel like I have the additional income to pay someone to run my social media, I could see doing that because I just don't even want it. I don't want to access it. I'm old-fashioned. Call me old-fashioned, I guess. But
I think for myself personally, and maybe a lot of people would feel like this, maybe they wouldn't, but I think if I had to watch a video of myself doom scrolling and watch my face just melting and my soul just leaving my body, I think it would make me like myself so much less.
Totally.
That it would probably train me very quickly to stop doing that.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, you do have 2 phones.
Yeah.
Easy to record.
I've literally thought about that. If I put some cameras up in my house and saw that, I would be like, ugh. Because I've seen other people do it and I'm like, come on, look at this world. Like,
I know. There's so much to be awestruck by. What are we doing on our phones? And there are things. One of the things I did recently is I actually was like, okay, what have I learned that's been beneficial from social media? And I made a really good list. It was a great list. And a lot of it's around parenting, or a lot of it's around, I don't know. I have a lot of interior designers that I love following, and then other florists that especially mechanics specific florists that are teaching sustainable mechanics. I love that stuff. And I also have a couple of follows that I will probably take a workshop from for continuing education and learning more stuff about flowers.
Yeah.
They're all in Europe, but that's neither here nor there. It'll happen when it's time. But social media is connective. There is a part of it that's very connective, and you learn really beautiful things from it. And you can reach people and have relationships with people that you can't if you don't have it. And so there is a part of me that's there are beneficial pieces. There are things I do love about interacting with people and encouraging my fellow industry colleagues. I get to go on there and post a rave about them and be excited about their things that they're doing, and that's really cool. But at what cost? And is it worth sacrificing my mental health for that?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to measure. I mean, I've found really cool podcast guests on social media because I've seen what they're doing, and I've thought, I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I want to more. Tell me more. Yeah, more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we go back to your flowers, what do you have any philosophies or views just on flowers in general, and what having them in your life does for you and does for people in general? And how big are they? How much of a part of a wedding or someone's day or someone's life are they?
Totally.
For you?
Yeah. I obviously I have a pretty strong opinion about flowers are a natural substance, and bringing them into your home is a really beautiful thing because you are bringing it outside in. The same way we love bringing in Christmas trees at Christmas, you bring the outside in, and suddenly it's this magical experience. And I feel like that happens with flowers, specifically on your table. For weddings, I feel like they're a huge part if you want to make them a huge part. Again, it's about personality. But I think when you get to, if you focus too much on decor, you get kind of into this realm of kitschy. But when you have lots of flowers, it is the natural world in your space, and it punctuates, or like, let's say it's an exclamation point on the end of your wedding design. I love using punctuation. Grammar nerd, I know. But I think exclamation point is a really good way to put it, because you write the story of your wedding, you want it to feel this way, and then you have the flowers, which are like, yes, this is a wedding. Something about flowers makes everything feel more like a wedding, which is just really beautiful. Also, flowers are by their very nature very transient. They're here and then they're gone, and you get to participate in a very short amount of time with them. Like, a long vase life for a flower is 2 weeks. Like, that's a really long vase life. Most flowers don't last that long. And the ones that I'm thinking of that last that long, occasionally you'll get ranunculus. And not that you know any of these flowers and don't need to know them, but like allium is a type of onion, garlic family, actually, I think. But they last forever in a vase. You can leave them for like 3 weeks and they're still growing. And so there is a really long vase life for certain flowers, but for the rest of them, it's like max of 5 days, especially wedding specific flowers. They're being put out in the heat. If you want your flowers to last, you keep them in a cooler space out of the sun. You don't touch them a lot. You refill the water. You sometimes cut the stems. Like, that's something you do, but they are naturally transient. And so one of the things that I say a lot about flowers at weddings specifically is they're the most serendipitous guests at your wedding. Like, wedding guests that made it to your wedding, they've been invited for 6 months. They've been planning on going, or they've been possibly coming. The like lining up the flights and all that, you could kind of say that's a wedding guest is serendipitous, but for flowers specifically, them being ripe, we'll call it ripe, but ready at the time of your wedding is extremely specific. And so I don't even know what's blooming for sure until 2 weeks before a wedding. And so there's this beautiful, like, these are the most transient and fragile, beautiful pieces of art that happen to be at your wedding. And I think it's a really cool part of planning flowers and to design flowers and bring them to a wedding. They're only there for a couple days. And like, we're better than at a wedding, you know? We're better than to grace the bride's bouquet or sit in front of the guest at a table or be in a beautiful altar display or an arch or along the meadow of an aisle. And like, that is just, it's special because they don't last that long, and suddenly they're the like front and center and a big part of your wedding. So I love that part about doing flowers for weddings too, because it feels like you're honoring the amount of work it took for the farmer to grow it and for the flower to exist in the first place and for nature to have brought it into existence at all. And there are so many types of flowers to appreciate. And I think people get kind of stuck on certain varieties of flowers. And every time I have a new freelancer or someone who's never done flowers before and they come and help with a wedding for some reason or other, they want to try it, or they just want to help. They're like, how are there this many types of flowers? I'm like, that's not even like a drop in the bucket. That's like a few types of flowers. So that's another fun part of like introducing people to flowers is at every wedding I attend, like I flower a wedding, and at every single one, there's a guest who's like, what's that? What kind of flower is that? And you're like, it's a foxglove, or it's a ranunculus. Or usually it's a ranunculus. People love ranunculus, or it's a lisianthus. It's this big, roughly beautiful flower that grew right here, literally in this valley. So that's, I don't know. There's a lot of rambling about how flowers are awesome, but I really love that it brings the outside in, especially, but then very serendipitous. Really
Yeah,
cool.
that is to think of them as a serendipitous guest.
Yeah.
That is such a cool concept.
It's fun. You'll appreciate them more at your wedding.
Yeah. I think my fiance will love that concept when I share it with her.
Yeah.
Because there's that one moment in time when they are,
Yep.
You could say at their greatest potential and ready to shine and put on a show for the day that you chose to have the special event is a very cool concept.
It's like converging. Everything converges and like, especially with local flowers. People push other kinds of flowers out of season for, like, roses are out like in season all year because they use greenhouses and they use fertilizer and they use all these things. And so these big Ecuador roses are out of season per se, but you can push them year round, or at least mostly year round. Occasionally they'll have like a big gap from, usually it's hurricane season, but that if you're pushing flowers out of season, suddenly it doesn't feel like quite as much of a convergence. Like we're embracing what's here. We're embracing what's, flowering right now. And we're not pushing it out of season. We're not shipping it from 3,000 miles away. So I think it's pretty special. It's pretty cool, but also it feels like it's right. It belongs here. The flowers belong here. And I think that's the other thing about doing local flowers too, is I've found with arranging all locally grown flowers, there's this beautiful rightness about when you place them in the environment in Montana, because it's Montana, like it's freaking gorgeous. It's amazing. And then a lot of times my clients are like, well, I don't want to detract. I'm like, you're not going to detract with flowers, but you place these locally grown flowers and you're like, that looks like it belongs right there. Like that's where it belongs because it was grown here. And obviously there's a little bit of pushing that because like there are flowers that are Japanese and there are flowers from Holland. Like tulips aren't native to Montana. None of the flowers are native necessarily. We do use native varieties. There are several in the spring. It's called prairie smoke. Have you seen prairie smoke before? It's a native Montana flower and it is so cute. So we do use these native varieties.
I thought that was like a cigarette or something.
Oh no, it sounds like that, but it's not. It's a little flower with like it looks kind of like the Lorax a little bit. It's like a big puff of pink at the top of it. But you get to use these flowers that grew here that look like they belong here a little bit more. Like I said, they're not all native, but they do grow here really well.
Yeah, this all resonates with me because I say sometimes to a fault I'm a purist. So
Totally.
the concept of it being here is so cool to me, and that sort of serendipitous thought of this is where you chose to be, whether it's where you chose to live or get married, and maybe it's where you met as a couple, and then these, for whatever reason, chose or not, like these flowers grew here. So that is a very cool concept to think of.
Yeah.
They're there.
It's really fun. I really like that. I'm kind of a Montana purist now also, but I obviously by choice, but I think it's been really fun because also all of the farmers live here. They spend their money here and I get to hand them beautiful, beautiful flowers come to me and I hand them money to make more beautiful flowers and to pay their employees to be able to do this here, it's really special. It's really cool. And I know all of them by name and take them out to dinner and I'm just so grateful because I don't want to grow flowers. That's not something I say that I'm really good at keeping cut flowers alive, but I have a pretty hard time keeping rooted flowers alive. I'm getting better at it. And I get some tips from my farmers, but a lot of the time, like this is their strength. And I can ask them a bazillion questions, but it doesn't mean I know how to grow flowers. I like planting perennials. They go in the ground and I don't think about them ever again. And that's my preference. Yeah. And they're like cultivating these crazy flowers that you're like, that is a princess. And it takes a lot of work to grow dahlias. It takes a lot of work to grow lisianthus. They just take a long time. And then you have short stems, long stems, and like it all depends on the weather. And now here it's a really rough environment to grow flowers. We get hail, we get freezes. We got a freeze in June this year, and the poor farmers are all over the map. Like we have to cover everything. We have to it takes a lot of infrastructure to grow flowers here.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's really, really cool. So I'm glad I'm not growing them. That's the moral of that story. I think I have a black thumb.
Do you know any hotspots for wildflowers? What's your, how's your, and you don't have to share them if you don't want to, but.
It's okay because I don't pick them. I mean, you're not really supposed to pick wildflowers for the most part, but the couple of places that I love going for wildflowers, and this year I haven't been up there yet, but this year, I think it's because of the burnout. The wildflowers at the top of the bridgers are insane this year. Like carpets of red, carpets of purple. Like my husband went running up there a couple weekends ago. And he came back down with just pictures and pictures because he's like, look at all these, because he knows that I appreciate that. So up on the bridgers was really good this year. I went in the Crazies last weekend with some friends, and it was actually really good in the Crazies. We hiked into Blue Lake at the trail from Half Moon, and there were so many out, and it was a lot of lupins. It was a lot of Indian paintbrush, and actually, that's silly. Because there were different colors of it. I'm trying to remember. There was I looked it up later. I think it's called basket flower. It looks kind of like it's daisy shaped. It's got red and yellow on it, but I think that was one of the flowers that was out there too. And then my favorite place, if it's a good year, is up at Blackmore, up in Highlight.
Okay.
If you go up the trail and like past the lake and keep going, it opens out into a big basin. You've been up there, I'm sure.
Is that like the south end kind of Highlight?
I think so, yes. And so Highlight is, if I'm remembering this right, I probably need a map. It's been a while to look at a map. But when you park in the Highlight Reservoir parking lot, you go up to the right. And once you are quite a ways up there, it's opened into a big cirque. And I think it's Elephant Head on the left and Blackmore Peak is on the right. And in the section right before it opens up, there's this big, like there's a creek running through it. And it's like streaks of wildflowers. It's like the top ones sent their seeds down. And so it's like pink strips and purple strips of lupin. And oh my gosh, it's so pretty. But I feel like that usually happens in August though, which is kind of late. But I think it's because it's colder and higher up there. But
so I was going to ask you if there's like a time of year that's best for...
Well, this year it was really weird. We were expecting wildflowers super early, and we had the balsam root that came kind of on time. But then, really, I feel like the wildflowers on top of Bridger were unusual in terms of timing. I feel like usually if it happens, it's earlier at Bridger and then later in Highlight. But I could be spitting off the wall and not know what I'm talking about. But I think that's usually for us, it's usually late July, I think.
Yeah.
So like right about now.
Yeah. And this will come out in a couple of weeks, so check as soon as you hear this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go hike Highlight up to Blackmore.
Do you want to show off your
apparatus? Yes. One of the prompts that you'd given me was, do you have any special tools? And this is
thank you for reading it. I don't know if anyone reads that, but like sometimes people will like bring things or bring pictures, and sometimes they won't. So
yeah, I sent you some of branding photos and stuff too. So if you want those, it's totally great. But this, I'll try to talk into the mic. I had my first year, I had like an apron that I was wearing, carrying around all my tools. And when you're a florist, you're down on your knees, like arranging flowers all the time. And you've worked construction, so you know that when you bend down, it closes all of your pockets.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. So you're like trying to straighten out and get your hand in your pocket to get your clippers, or you're like very uncomfortable. So my friend Kyle, he came over after work. I think he was going to sauna with my husband or something. I don't even remember what was going on, but he showed me his vest. He was like, you need one of these. And so his name is Tim Dolan, and he does leather work actually or he was doing it in Big Sky. I think he still does it. And so he made this vest for me, and I have had 3 babies since wearing this vest, and it's totally possible to like get my tools at all times. I don't lose them as often. I still lose them fairly frequently, but I don't lose them as often. And I don't close my pockets when I bend down. And so I climb up ladders all the time. So I have my wire and my tape and all my tools, my big clippers, and I can tuck things into the pockets. And it's the best tool belt ever, especially if you're like a trim carpenter or someone who kneels down constantly.
Yeah, and it's just like...
And it has
very
super professional. Yeah. I've freelanced for people before at a wedding where I freelanced for another florist, and one of the staff assumed I was the head honcho because of my vest.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I know, it's that professional. It's great. Cool. So I love this vest, and it's obviously well used, but it's holding up so well. So local guy made it super cool.
Tell me his name.
Tim Dolan.
Tim Dolan. Shout out to Tim Dolan.
Shout out to Tim Dolan. Also, get him to make you a vest.
Yeah, tell him to come to a podcast if he wants to, because that's a beautiful...
It's sweet. And he also, one of the things that has changed over time is like I'll have different sized clippers, and he was, I don't know if he offers this to everyone or how often he makes these, because it seemed kind of like a one-off thing, but I think he'd probably be willing to make more of them. But he offered to like tighten the holsters for all my clips, because I stick my clips in when they're open, and I stick my clips in when they're closed sometimes, and then they fall out. He's like, I can tighten those with rivets, or I can tighten them with more stitching, which... Buy a tool belt at the store. Nobody's going to be tightening the rivets for you. So it's just really cool. Really well done. Really, really cool. I use it all the time. I use it every wedding. If I forget it, I'm super pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if any trim carpenters use that because if you ever bend down and your tool belt goes on the ground, then
Yeah.
half your stuff will fall out of your tool belt.
Everything falls out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a pain in the butt. Kyle was doing trim at the time.
Okay.
And so I actually don't know if he still uses it because now he's a general contractor. So I don't know. But he's the one who turned me on to it. And I was like, I need one of these. And so I use it every wedding. It's amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah. I look really cool wearing it too.
I bet, yeah.
Looks super professional. Someone walked up to me at the last wedding that I did at Copper Rose Ranch. I think it was last weekend. I can't even keep track of time, but they walked up and they were like, everything about you, so cool. I was like, it's the best, I promise. Yeah. I'm less cool than I look, I think.
That's cool though.
Yeah, it is cool.
If anyone wants to find you, check out your work, go on your social media that you haven't posted on as much lately.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Rowan Larch Florals. And I have a Pinterest where I post ideas. I have a website, and that's just rowanandlarch.com.
Okay. And that's the handle for Instagram as well?
Yeah, Rowan and Larch Florals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I started out thinking I was going to do cards on Etsy. We had gone on a long road trip. That's kind of where this all started, really, as I wanted to do a creative job. So I started making cards. And I was like, what do you make cards out of? You make them out of paper. Paper comes from trees. So I'm going to choose some trees and then I loved the name so much that I couldn't get rid of it when I started doing flowers. I was like, I'm going to stick with it. But the cool part about my name, though, my business name, I didn't know this really when I originally picked it. I just really liked both types of trees, and I'm a nerd. And in Lord of the Rings, one of the Ents sings a song about the rowan tree, which rowan came from that originally. But we have mountain ash here, which is a rowan tree. I don't know if you know that one, but it grows white berries that turn red in the fall, and they stay all winter. The one thing I don't know is it doesn't seem like robins or the birds in my neighborhood eat them, but I believe that birds eat them all winter. And so but it's a transplant. Like, it's not a native tree, but the larch is a native tree. And it's one of the only conifers that turns yellow in the winter or in the fall. And so if you're driving around Montana and Idaho and you see a yellow tree, it is yellow. It's not dead. It's a larch. And we have the largest larch in the world in the U.S. in Montana.
So that's the name. The name Rowan and Larch is trees.
2 trees.
Okay.
Yeah. A native and a non-native, because I technically am a transplant, but I've lived here over 20 years. So at this point, unless you're a real Montanan, I'm technically, not, but I am.
Yeah. That's a very subjective statement.
It's so subjective. Yeah. I feel like the only people who say I'm not a Montanan are the people who were born and raised here.
Yeah. I had a client I picked up, and I asked him, I was like, how long have you been here or something? He's like, I moved here in like 2018. He's like, I'm like 3rd generation.
That's good.
I thought it was very funny.
That is very funny.
Like, that might not sit well with anyone, but.
Yeah. Might not sit well with the people actually born and raised here, but who's counting, right?
Yeah. He knew that.
That's really funny. Yeah. 2018, born and raised here.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anything else anyone should know about you?
Let's see. I also illustrate children's books, and so
interesting.
I love. I self-published too on Amazon. They went very, very little further than like friends and family. That's all I wanted to do it for. So, if you have anyone on your podcast who knows an agent, I'm looking for an agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you said you were doing your books and you were talking about your financials.
Yeah.
You said you were working on your books, and I almost asked you. Oh, I thought you were saying books.
Books. Yeah. I do also work on my books, the accounting ones and the illustrated ones. I like to write and illustrate. Right now, I'm working on one about a little cow that looked up. Because I was driving out to the crazies, it was like, I don't know, it was probably 5 years ago. I was driving out to do a backpacking trip in the evening. There's the most insane sunset I've ever seen. Literally since then or ever before then. And I've seen a lot of good ones because I live in Montana and we have amazing sunsets. But it was like we were up on the foothills of the crazies and looking out across this insane valley with the Yellowstone in the bottom of it. And the cows are all grazing. And I'm like, guys, you're missing it. And so I decided that I should write a story about a calf that gets this whole herd to look up. So that's the one I'm working on right now.
You're reminding me of this was early on when I lived here. I was in Livingston. If you go on exit 340 if you're heading east on the interstate, if you go, let me get my geography in the right direction. If you go left, you'll go towards, like towards Wilsaw.
Yeah. Okay.
And what is that valley called?
What do they call that valley? Uh, it's, it's between the Crazies and the Bridgers, and they call
Yeah.
it it's not the Big Hole. It's not the Bitterroot. It's not, oh my gosh, what is it called?
It may or may not come to me.
It probably won't come to me either.
If you go, instead of going that way, which essentially is, man,
it's more or less north towards Wilsall, I think.
Yeah, north or west, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go the other way, it goes to the Livingston Airport.
Okay, yeah.
And you just climb up this little hill, and it's kind of a dead end there. And when you stop there, you're essentially looking over all of Livingston, and there's a ranch right below. So there's like, when I was there's a huge herd of cows. I remember sitting up there watching the sunset, seeing the train go through, and like typical
so pretty
Montana, hearing the train.
Yeah.
And it was like, I just remember that kind of vividly, the concept of all the cows and everything.
You're like,
they're doing their thing.
You're like, you're doing what you should do, but also you're missing it. Yeah. But yeah, that's the current one. I think I have 5 total ideas. I actually got to meet, so I have kids, obviously. I've read a lot of nursery rhymes in my day, and I have read or sung a lot of lullabies in my time. And I had read / sung Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. We had this stupid little book with owls in it from the pediatrician when my son was born. Our kids loved it, and I was so tired of singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And I was like, what are some good lullabies that don't have an illustrated book yet? And the one that came up for me was Sandman by Ed Sheeran. Do you know that song?
No.
It's not a super common one. I actually do know a couple people who are like, yeah, I love that one. But for the most part, people don't know it at all. And so I was like, oh, I should illustrate that. And then a couple days later, for whatever reason, Instagram, being stupidly smart, was like, hey, Ed Sheeran's putting on a concert in small venues in Seattle and like Minneapolis and all these places alongside his stadium tour. So I bought tickets for that. This story is going somewhere, I promise. It's long though. And so I ended up being able to buy tickets for it because I've always wanted to see him in concert because he's this one-man show and he uses his loop pedal and it's really cool. But he was doing it for this album that had just come out that he had like grieved through. And so it was this small venue, very emotional tour beside his stadium tour. And so I was like, man, I really want to present him. I'm just going to put it out in the universe. I would really like to meet Ed Sheeran and present him with the idea that I would like to illustrate Sandman. And cut to the chase, I met Ed Sheeran randomly on the street in Seattle and got to ask him if he'd be interested in letting me illustrate Sandman. And he said, yes, took my email, but I've never heard back. And I was like, I put it on in the, like, of all the things I thought, you know.
Have
like,
you sent a follow-up email?
I've sent follow-up emails, mostly though because he took mine, I didn't get his, because that's kind of how celebrities work. You don't usually get their email in return. So, but I've sent some emails to his, like, the people around him, and like, but one of the things that I'm working on getting right now is the rights to actually illustrate the story and use the lyrics. Yeah. Which is actually kind of a process, but and then looking for an agent for publishing the books that I already have illustrated, and then Sandman, which is in progress, and then all of the other ideas that I have, because I have several more ideas. But yeah, kind of random, kind of one of those things that I'm excited about, but it's also not like, this isn't my main gig, but I do really love doing it. It's very much a side, like something I do on the side, moonlight as an illustrator or something.
This was a ways back, a guest of mine, Elliot, who opened Bozeman Classic Pickleball.
Oh, yeah.
I think he said something like, you're only like 200 emails away from your next yes.
I know. I'm like,
so that's like the concept of just keep, keep asking.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So still, I sent it to his publicist, his manager. Like, these are things that I feel like would get really annoying as a publicist or a manager, but I'm like, I'm just gonna keep trying. We'll see. But yeah, I thought it was that's kind of a funny anecdote in that, like, I said I would, and then I did. And all of the people that I had wanted to see, because I said I knew that I did some research, and his security guard, his name is Security Kev, and he's like an internet sensation guy or whatever. Like, he just is Ed Sheeran's bodyguard. But he's all over Instagram. And I was like, I know what he looks like. And so I'll kind of keep my eye out and maybe I can ask him.
Mhm.
And he would have been like, no, I'm not talking to you, which is funny because Ed was like, yeah, I'll talk to you. But Kevin wouldn't have. I don't think. Maybe he would have. But and then I was like, maybe I know what his wife looks like and I know her name and stuff. And I actually ran into her too, but I didn't get to talk to her about it because she was very coy. She didn't want to talk. I was like, if I were you, I would not want to talk to me either. So I get it.
One of Ed Sheeran's songs was a runner-up for a wedding song for me and my fiance.
Yeah, which one?
Thinking Out Loud.
Oh, I love Thinking Out Loud. I love all of his
Still
songs,
a great
though.
song. But
Still a great song.
Yeah.
What did you pick?
Well,
Or is it still in the works?
No, we picked it. It's a secret.
Oh.
But technically,
this won't come out till after your wedding.
Technically, the wedding before this is published. It is "Millionaire" by Chris Stapleton.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. It's got really I really love the lyrics in it. It's very, very poetic and well written.
Thinking Out Loud is very waltzy.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, maybe you're a waltz guy, but I feel like
more. We do more of a Western swing. It'll be like Western swing with two-step.
Totally.
And we had to slow it down a little bit, but it's such a cool song, and it just
such a cool song.
Yeah. It works.
That'll be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unless you're a waltz person, I don't think picking Thinking Out Loud makes the most sense. But
it's funny. It was more my pick because I remember. I don't know if you've seen the music video for that song. I love
the music video.
But I remember watching that growing up and thinking, that would be so cool.
I should do that at my wedding.
That would be so cool to know how to do that. And I have gotten
good enough that you
very proficient at dancing.
Yeah.
So I
feel like it would be within your reach.
Yeah, I won't say I dance to that level.
Okay.
But I
don't be modest.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So. Very cool. Now I know, but nobody else does. So that's cool.
If anyone else finds out, I'll know that you told them.
It was me.
Yeah.
Nobody will find out. Who would I tell?
If you have any links for any of your books or any of that stuff, I'm more than happy to put it in the description.
I'll send them to you.
Just send them to me. Send me your website. Send me your Instagram. This was fun.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to meet another homeschooler who's being fairly reasonably successful.
What's the name of the cult?
Weirdo clubs? Is that what I called it?
No, it was weirdo something though. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll put links in the description.
It sounds good.
Yeah. Anyway,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very cool what you're doing.
Thanks.
And I'm excited to check out some of your stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
When I'm not on there.
When you're not on there and I haven't posted.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.